Right then, so it's nearly a year since I bought my Hotchkiss Willys, and so I'll just give you a run through what's happening with it. So once again, it's for a lot of the American guys that I follow and they follow me back on Instagram and read my blog and stuff. Obviously, you don't need to educate any American about the Willys Jeep. But what they are unaware of, a lot of them, is in Europe, the French army made the Hotchkiss company. In fact, there you go, there's a manual and the history of them and the story of them. Made, oh, I've got a train going by, there you go. French military used them after World War II. Last made them in 1967, and they did quite a lot of modifications later on. You can see here a lot of prototype stuff, other prototypes here the French tried. They always went back to the original Willys design because it just works so well. Look at these missiles and stuff. There you go. So you've got your L134 flathead, L head. Motor, exactly the same as wartime. Now the ridges on here seem to correspond with the last flathead engines, which the CJ 2A and 3A, if I'm correct, had. Difference is the oil bath air filter is over here, wartime. We have 12 volt battery converted. It was 24 though, hence I've got a toolbox in here. Different alternator obviously. It's also got a French Solex carburetor. This runs really well, and I'm going to start this now because it's not been started for 4 weeks. We're mid-December, but it's a clear sky outside. Uses a bit of water and just seems to boil it out the overflow. I'll probably put the Safari kit on it. They're quite pricey, about £175, but it's like an overflow like you get in your modern car, and it'll probably save me the hassle of topping up as much. Engine doesn't really burn much oil at all. It's running really smooth. Yeah, it's just running good. And folk have been asking what's it like owning a Jeep, and it's great. Learned a lot, learned to fix a lot myself. Had a bit of work done electrical wise by a friend who is an electrician, and got a lot of advice, a lot of folk, and most of the jobs have been quite easy to do. I wouldn't be scared to undertake a full restoration of a Jeep now, having owned one. I wouldn't have wanted to have jumped into some basket case. So let's get to the nitty gritty. What do they cost? What are they worth? Well, if you buy a wartime Jeep in the condition this one's in, which is more or less rust free, everything works, you're going to pay, now you're going to pay over £20,000, easily over 20. They're advertised at 23, 25, 30,000, and they're going up in price. French Hotchkiss Jeeps, that's what this is. Started off as Willys and Ford Jeeps, and then later on would be replaced, parts would be replaced by French made parts. This Jeep has a 1965 chassis. It's made by Hotchkiss. They've improved them, they made them stronger, they put reinforcing in the weak areas of the old Jeeps. They put more leaf springs in, 24 volts on them. This one's converted to 12, as you know, you've seen my previous video. So what's it been like running it? It does 20 to 25 to the gallon. It does, I've done an oil every 2,000 kilometres, rather it's 2,000 miles. I've done 2,500 miles in it. I have learned how to change all the diff, gearbox, transfer cases. Tool wise, I've bought spanners, jacks, oil transfer container there with a pump. I've bought 5 gallons of engine oil, 5 gallons of coolant, and everywhere I go I've found out now about another 4 wartime Jeeps that folk have that are sitting around in garages, but they won't sell them. Would I sell this? No. Unless I got a wartime Jeep with documentation that was genuine matching, but even then I don't think I'd go to all the bother for the hassle and the money. Every time I'm out in this, I seem to get some other story about Jeeps and parts, and as you can probably see here, the amount of war stuff that folk are giving me when they find out I'm into war stuff, it's unbelievable. Yeah, so things I did since I got it: I had the brakes rebuilt, and I had new fuel tank, fuel line. I had to adjust the brakes up as pads, the shoes wore in a bit, bedded in. It got the Jeep sag where it sags on one side, so I put new leaf springs on and new shocks. And seeing as it's not a genuine wartime Jeep, even though it's got the Willys Go Devil engine, I did change the bonnet number there to a more famous Jeep, and there's the same bonnet one there, the man himself, Action Man. So yeah, the Action Man Jeep now. Quite a lot. I want to get canvas seat covers for it, but you know, they're like £300 for a set of replica ones. I actually don't even bother anymore. It's just a Jeep to me. It's not a war Jeep. It doesn't need to be some showroom. It's a Jeep I use. Well, there's the original data plate. You can see Hotchkiss Willys, licensed Willys Motors, and it's got their Hotchkiss brand, Paris. What else? I put a GPS speed on it, the kilometre speedo, which is down below, which I've kept to record the mileage for servicing and documentation. It's a lot easier to use being in miles per hour, and it's really accurate, obviously. Don't want to get caught speeding, so that's what I've done. Other than that, I've just enjoyed using it. Anything I'm going to change in the future? Probably not. I've got a military style motorbike to buy next. As I'm discovering, anything that's wartime's absolutely extortionate. I've already wrote in my blog about paratrooper bikes going for £2,000. I've got an old rally bike there, it was £50. It's exactly the same bike, just doesn't fold in half. But anyway, I've got something that's more fun than an old power bike. I've got a fat bike, which is army colours. So I'm getting a Royal Enfield next year, a 500, and it'll be dispatch style, drab olive with panniers and stuff. So yeah, parts wise for this, everything for a Willys MB I've discovered just bolts straight on. Amazingly, the French left them, even when they reproduced everything, they kept the AF thread, American fine thread. So you'd expect it to have went metric like everyone else is in Europe, but they've kept the American thread. So yeah, you just buy Willys MB parts and they just fit straight on. It's got the T84 gearbox and the Go Devil engine. So when it comes to clutches and things, it'll be fine to get the parts. Now, one thing I was going to talk about, ethanol, fuel. There's lots of talk online about the ethanol, E10. Now if we put E10 in the Mustang or the Vauxhall VXR, they run like bags of shit. And I put one tank full of E10 in this, and it ran crap. It wasn't even wanting to idle a lot, and I know that the ethanol will dissolve the fuel lines if they're not up to a modern specific type. So I need to double check that. I'm having to run an E5, I'm running super unleaded, and it's the cost which is the worst thing. It's basically it's £30 for 20 litres, which is a jerry can, and the tank's 50 litres, 2 jerry cans for that. So I usually put £30 for a weekend in that, and I get out on a Friday afternoon, out on a Saturday, we spin on a Sunday. I might use that, but it's cost me 30 quid a weekend. So I have used Red X, but I'm now using Castrol Valve Master. So the only reason I bought this is the container's brilliant. You squeeze it up to the amount of litres you've put in, pour it in. I'll probably put the Red X lead replacement into this. But yeah, I'm just running super unleaded because it just seems to run really good. I know there's videos on YouTube about taking ethanol out, and I'm not going mucking around with fuel. Not worth the risk of fire or something going wrong. Just, you know, I did 2,500 miles in a year, and next year I'm just going to do less miles, but make the journeys more worthwhile, go places. And the furthest journeys I do are about 40 mile, 50 mile trips. So I don't mind going out less and going a wee bit further afield. I want to get away camping with it. And also, I'm not interested in going to car shows and that, because it's not a restored wartime Jeep, because it's not a wartime Jeep. It's my Jeep. I've made it my own. I've just put the stuff on it I want to put on it, and I buy things for myself, motorbikes, push bikes. I've always done that. I do stuff for myself, not for resale purposes. The big question, other question, folks say, how much did it cost and what? Well, I don't mind telling you, I paid 16,000 for this Jeep, ready to go. Guy spent a good 2-3 grand on it himself, and a lot of time. He'd welded all the floors up, painted the chassis and stuff. He phoned me a few weeks later and he's like, I've sold you that Jeep too cheap, you should insure it for 18, which I did. And I've now been offered 18 for it from a car collector, but I'm not interested in selling it. So I've made money on it already. I've spent a grand on it. It's money in the bank, and I was lucky to do this because I paid off a mortgage when I moved in with my girlfriend. So it allowed me to do two things: work part time and enjoy more time with myself, obviously, and buy a dream, which was to get a Jeep. And I don't have any regrets. The insurance for it, I'm 50 years old, and we paid £153 for myself, mother half, and her son, he's in the Dragoon Guards, and he's 26, so he's insured for it. I just got renewal through, and it's down to 113. So this Jeep cost me £113 a year, just sitting. That's all it costs. 30 quid for a weekend in fuel. Take it out really, a couple of times. I don't go to the pubs, don't go to cafes and restaurants, not been anything like that since the whole COVID. Not interested now in going out, can't be bothered. These were decisions I made when I went part-time working, and just choose what you spend your money on. And it's not been started for a month, so we'll just do as usual. We'll check there's water in it. We're okay there. Don't need to wipe the ducts in, just check there's a good, should go to a centimetre below. What you have to do, primer up, got a lever here, you'll hear the fuel in the card.